Okay, guys, I just thought I should do this video so that we can take this matter that is currently raging the internet space between Pastor Chris and Doris Ogala. I really don't like to put it that way because, in fairness, it's between Pastor Chris and himself. I don't think it is between Pastor Chris and somebody else, because the guy is actually battling himself. And I postulated just a few days ago, before, I think it was on Saturday evening or on Friday evening or thereabout, where I said the guy should issue an unreserved apology. And I wish that he had followed that advice, because what he did was that he issued a reserved apology. Apologies under circumstances like that must not have extra explanation. You can't be defending and apologizing at the same time. You can't probate and reprobate at the same time. If you're going to be apologizing, you can't be explaining at the same time. You can't be apologizing and be defending yourself at the same time. You can't be apologizing and accusing somebody else at the same time. It's called Nemo Judah Inkasasua. You can't be a judge in your own cause. So I had hoped that Pastor Chris should have offered an unreserved apology. Apologize to the church, both the church as in the Catholic Church, and I don't mean the Roman Catholic Church. I mean that the church universal, because the church is one body, and then his local assembly, and then to the Doris Ogala and whoever may feel aggrieved by his actions or inactions in the past 8 years. But unfortunately, the apology came with several pregnancies, because he added a caveat to it. It was a conditional apology, and it appeared to have raised a couple of other issues and sleeping dogs that should have just been left sleeping. Going into accusing his former wife, his estranged wife, his divorced wife, of the things that he accused her of, as far as I'm concerned, was an unnecessary diversion. He took away from the substance of the apology. And perhaps my humble logomaki at this point is that Pastor Chris should get a professional media handler, because it seems to me that the guy does a lot of things that he does by himself. At this juncture now, I am appalled and disappointed really to hear the lady say that they're still having face-to-face conversation, and that she was there when he tried to call VDM and to convince VDM. And I'm saying, come on, sir, at this level now, you can't be doing some of these things one-on-one. You've just got to have an intermediary, somebody who's got a reputation, who's got the capacity, and who's perhaps got the experience to handle some of these matters. You can't be doing them by yourself. No, sir, not at this junction. And I mean, come to think about it, I cannot also think that the very dark black, VDM, has on this particular matter, he may have the competency and capacity and the credibility to deal with the issues of oppression. But in the issues of sexual impropriety, I do not think that he has the capacity and the competence and the moral justification to so do. Because I've listened to him again and again when he has said with pride too that he doesn't, he has sexual escapades, and in many of his sexual escapades, he doesn't even use protection. And when he first of all said, my heart was broken, because here the whole world is trying to do everything they can do to stop the scourge of the spread of sexually transmitted disease, especially HIV/AIDS, and the Ministry of Health. I said it again and again, and you see it in several hospitals, adorning several billboards that if you must do it, you must have protection, so that we can save society. People are dedicating huge amounts of money in the fight against the wicked scourge of HIV/AIDS. And somebody who inspires a whole lot of young people can come to the public space to say that he's got sexual urges and that he's got to have sex on a daily basis. That's fine. That's your libido, that's your sexual appetite, and I do not begrudge you for it. When you get to the point where you say you have raw sex, if you have raw sexual intercourse, it's between you. That's not something you should put out in the public, because if at all anything, you are inspiring young people to do as you do, because several people are inspired by the things that you do. You are asking to say they can be as you are, because one action is worth 1,000 words, and that mitigates against the attempt by the world and by the Ministry of Health in their fight to militate against the spread of HIV/AIDS. So I do not think that he's got a moral justification to talk about this Doris, especially between Doris Ogala and the pastor. He doesn't have the moral justification and that's my humble logomaki. Several people who call themselves rattles may differ, but I mean, really, we can't fear backlash so much so that we're afraid to speak our minds. But going to the real case of the matter at this particular junction, the only thing I can advise at this point, which is the most proper thing to do, that it is no longer morally justifiable that Pastor Chris should continue to pastor the mountain of liberation. It's not about legality. It's not about bravery or being braggadocious. At this material point in time, I must give him the recommendations of one of our fathers years ago who found himself in such a sexual labyrinth, if you like to put it that way. And I remember our very dear father came into the church too and took him away. He wasn't the pastor of that church for a month or two. I'm told that another pastor in Abuja took that same approach. It is the proper thing to do. At this material point in time, Pastor Chris Okafor need to step down from preaching to the people, because this one mounting the pulpit every day, that's why it's a sanctuary. It comes from the word sanctity. And if all of these allegations, because many of them are no longer allegations, many of them you have also admitted to it. So my humble local market, my postulation, my advice in this particular matter is that perhaps one of the guys who is being connected to, or one of our fathers who is being connected to, ostensibly Pastor Matthew Oshomola, should visit the church and say, look, I've done a proper assessment and reassessment of this matter, and it is in the eyes of morality that Pastor Chris Okafor should step aside. The moment you step aside, you can't continue to be in the eyes of the storm, because as long as you are there preaching to the church, just looks like we think that these matters are not weighty enough and that you can continue to be a judge in your own cause. It's time to leave the spotlight, because if you hold on too long, you may eventually, God forbid, you may eventually not have a church. VDM has made it clear that it's not just about you. He has made it clear that it is a fight against the church. Whether it is your church or the church in general, it's a different ballgame entirely. It's not about justice for him. It's about the fact that your church he wants your church to be empty. And I find a problem with that. There are several people, he's a fake pastor. That's not my business. They call Jesus Christ fake. And Jesus Christ said, whether he's fake or not, all I know is that I was blind, now I can see. That's not my own business. There's always the presumption of innocence until it is otherwise proven. I don't like to go with the bandwagon. 80% of people are conformist, and once you hear people say crucify him, there are several people who like to be popular instead of being right, and there are people who just join the bandwagon and carry stones and want to crucify the person, essentially because they have not been caught, not because they do better in such matters. They have not been caught. There's an 11th commandment, and the 11th commandment is that thou shalt not be caught. So I'm not going to join the bandwagon of those who are calling for the head of Pastor Chris Okafor upon the platter of gold, like they asked for the head of John the Baptist. And I'm not going to join the bandwagon of those who are calling him fake and who are calling him all kinds of names. That's not my responsibility in this particular matter. Time tells. The man said God called him, and the God who called him has the competency to uncall him, or has the capacity over time to show that this call is fake or genuine. But at this material point in time, if anybody can get this video to him and share it, to him. I'm a pastor as well, and there are several incidences like I do not see the moral justification, actually, that the thing has blown open to this dimension. He needs to do the needful, step out from the limelight.